All right, for anybody who's not familiar with my background at all, my name is McGreggor. I am a satanic author and presenter from right here in St. Louis. I am the author of multiple titles. You can find me online on radio shows, podcasts, all that kind of good stuff. This is my second year here at Take a Picnic, and before we do anything else, I really do want to express just how special it really is that we have this community here in St. Louis. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for being welcoming of a presenter such as myself. It really is something special that we have here, so I cherish it a lot and hope you all do too. I'm here today representing Twisted Tree Abbey. We are a closed group of practitioners that work together to advance the field of safety. Everything that I am presenting here today is a result of that work. I'll be at the author's table today from 3 to 6. I'll have books, I'll sign books, we can chat, and I will also have candles this year. So I'll have a whole line of those you guys can check out.
Hey.
Let's see, tomorrow I am presenting at 2 p.m., same workshop space, so right here in the fire workshop, and that one is on invocation in the ritual space, and that is titled Bleeding the Soul. So that should give you an idea of the content on that one. Today, we're going to go on a little bit of the background and symbolism and practical usage of the Grigori, also known as the Watchers, also known as the Fallen Angels. I'm going to try to keep it to about 30 minutes, so we have plenty of time for discussion, questions and answers, that kind of stuff. I would hope that you keep most questions to the end, and that way we can be respectful of people coming in after us. And now, we're going to go ahead and get going. I have to give everybody a warning. It's going to get biblical. But only for a little bit. And then we're going to go right back to being heretics and blasphemers and all that good stuff. So, whenever we're talking fallen angels, we're talking the Book of Enoch. And the Book of Enoch is a pre-Christian Jewish mystical text. And it dates from about 300 BCE to 100 BC. If anybody is curious, the word Grigori comes from the Greek for watchful or vigilant. The Book of Enoch is what's called pseudepigrapha, which means that it was either named for or attributed to someone who absolutely did not write it. So, of the 5 parts of the Book of Enoch, 0 were written by Noah's great-great-grandfather Enoch. See, it is not biblical canon, and there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, the beginning parts of the book borrow from the Torah, so religious scholars at the time thought it was plagiarism. Another big part was they didn't like what it said. They just didn't like the content of what it said and decided to leave it out, which we'll go ahead and call plausible. A good Wikipedia nugget to confirm this is coming from Tarifio the Jew, and he says, "The utterances of God are holy, but your expositions are mere contrivances, as is plain from what has been explained by you. Nay, even blasphemies, for you assert that angels sinned and revolted from God." So it wasn't the pedigree so much, it was the content. It was just the premise itself. And we see modern parables of this, or parallels of this, today. There's still widespread speculation on the age of the pyramids, because secular scholars say it's one thing, religious scholars say another, and they're actually basing it on stuff we're talking about today, which is the biblical flood. It's been basically engineeringly figured out that the pyramids couldn't have survived the Great Flood if it happened. So that means they had to have either been built after it, which means the flood happened way before, or vice versa, all that good stuff. But they don't match up, so the religious scholars say, no, it has to be this date, and it's well before what the secular ones. So that's just a modern parallel of the exact same thing that's happening here. The the oldest part of the Book of Enoch, which is Enoch 1, is dated around the 3rd century BCE, and the earliest parts are from about the 1st century BCE, and that's Enoch 2. It is an apocryphal text. It has everything to do with the apocalypse. And it also espouses the mission of Enoch and his sons, and basically everything to do with the pre-Diluvian flood times, and how the Grigori, the fallen angels, and their relationship with humanity corrupted us and caused the Great Flood. This is a text that provides the moral justification for the destruction of the earth. How is that morally justified? How is that okay? Well, they were teaching us stuff. They were teaching us stuff we weren't supposed to know. So, there might have been some sweeping around with human women. I mean, you birth a race of giants or two, we're getting out of hand, I get it. But in all seriousness, the fallen angels, they took a solidarity pact on a mount, and then they took human wives, and then they passed on tutelage. Now, an important thing to note here is the knowledge transfer is absolutely tied inherently to these marriages and intimate relations. In the same passage, even, they are tied together. So, we'll have a look at that. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones. Semyaza taught enchantments, and root cuttings, Armaros resolving of enchantments, Barachiel taught astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arachiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. So, we see something very interesting here. Biblical texts that are obsessed with lineages are providing none of that, and a ton of information about knowledge transfer that was forbidden between the two entities. And to wrap up everything here before we move on to some other little bit more interesting stuff, the angels went and told on us. They went and tattled to God, and they told him what was going on. And it turns out God is not a fan of access to education, because he doomed all of us. He said the whole planet's got to go. Devised the flood, and then he set the loyal angels of God upon man, earth, and the Grigori alike. So, in a nutshell, the Grigori are the original guardians and watchers of humanity. This was even the duty assigned to them by God. But they got too close. Maybe had a couple babies. And they shared a lot of knowledge. And then they got us all wiped out. So, something happens that's very interesting whenever the original Aramaic and Hebrew are, I'm blanking on the word, translated into Slavonic through Greek, of course. And that is that Adamic themes start to get intermixed into the two for the first time. It's where Jewish mysticism begins to meet Christian parable. And this is done in the way that the Grigori fall, and in the fact that this is the first time that Satan, or Satanael, is directly referenced as opposed to simply alluded to as the leader of the fallen angels and the Grigori. Before, it was entities like Semyaza or Azazel. So that is where that transition happened, and then there was also a transition in what caused the actual fall and the flood. As opposed from it being the knowledge transfer between the two entities, it became a corruption. It became much more spicy in the evil and the corruption of the Grigori and the humans. And this was actually visibly in the differences between the two texts, whereas one would strictly focus on these knowledge transfers, the others would start to really get into dogma and just how much nefariousness was attached to those entities. It became a transfer from ambition and hedonistic virility to perversion and moral corruption. So in the historical context, what does the symbolism mean? In the pre-Christian pagan world, many deities and many gods were revered, and they were actually referred to for priestesses often as their wives. Even today, some nuns are referred to as the brides of Christ. So what was the fruit of these marriages and intimate relations between Gregorian humans? It was a race above, a race that stood above the rest of humanity. Giants. And they were armed with all of the knowledge given to them by the Grigori. This is what caused in the Slavonic Apocrypha the downfall and doom of the planet and the flood of Noah and all of that side of things. In the pre-Christian, there were gods like Ramon, who is actually listed as a Grigori, and he was a pre-Christian god worshipped in places like Syria and Damascus, and they would go to actually offer to the altar of Ramon to bless and protect the offerings of the other pagan gods. He was a protector of the other spirits and their traditions. And then the angels of God, or another way to put it, the royal agents on earth of God, the architects of the Christian world, drove bulldozers all over the spiritual landscape of humanity. Through the Crusades, through the oppression and the tyranny of the Middle Ages and the Inquisition, through the Salem witch trials, all of the influence of the Grigori was wiped from earth, or at least they tried. And now we, as the generations that are finally coming out of that tyranny, we have the opportunity to reconnect with these spirits and begin to look at them in a fashion that isn't tied up in all of that negative, corruptive, Adamic storyline that we are the product of. Now we'll get into actually some of the fun stuff, some applications, some how do we actually use Grigori in our spiritual practices. And before we do that, I do want to read one of the coins or cards of the Grigori because this workshop is named after him. I am going to read the coin of Beelzebub, Grigori Spiritus, the Breath of the Inferno. This is part of a working I did in January as a book release project. Everybody who signed up was part of a group ritual. I channeled the spirit of Simyaza, who was a connective spirit, brought humans and Grigoris together, and I pulled a card for everybody. And it was an invitation from that spirit to you to reach out and to make contact. And I am going to do that today for any one of you who are willing and would like to receive such an invitation. But before doing that, we are going to go ahead and read the coin of Beelzebub, Grigori Spiritus, the Breath of the Inferno. Integral to sustaining all that flourishes within the flames of the Inferno, cherish the coin of Beelzebub. Once maligned as a lord of rot and decay, of flies and fester, we understand a new truth. Beelzebub is the breath of life and the flight of souls. Beelzebub is all that sustains us, and whose loss means the end. To lose Beelzebub is to lose the breath and to lose the spirit. Because of this, it is only natural and true that the enemies of such soul and spirit and fire would deem this Grigori of life as a spirit of decay. For Beelzebub is indeed the end of humanity's winter of discontent. Invoke this coin when spirit need be restored, and infernal breath need be blown into your spiritual practice. Pulling the coin of Beelzebub represents a coming renewal, or a brand new vector for your spiritual path opening. Beelzebub requires that you feed and sustain your practice through whatever methods work best for you, and allow them to help your spirit soar. Breathe deep. So even from that, we start seeing how we can begin to incorporate these spirits into our actual spiritual practices. So now, for anybody who is interested, I'll go around and you can pull a card. So if you're interested, just raise your hand and I'll come around. There are 30 different coins. You've got a chance to see what time it is here, so we're at. Doing good. Oh, my phone. Alright. And you are more than welcome to keep these. And if you actually want some more and you don't want to get the actual book, you can go onto my Facebook page and you will you'll see all of them. I've been posting them for about 30 days. So anybody who's interested, raise a hand. Alright. You can shuffle in there, you don't have to pull from the top if you don't want. And you can read it if you want, or I can read it. Alright. So Elise pulled the coin of Uraka Varamil, the leader of legions and second of Semyaza. To be the leader is one thing, but it is another to be the one the leader truly counts on. Such is the energy of the coin of Uraka Varamil, unfailing and true second to Semyaza, chief of the fallen. Where Semyaza has gone, Urakhamil has been also. For aeons, one rising to the height of their being through supporting another. Invoke this coin when dealing with matters of obligation, familial responsibility, and ancestry. Pulling the coin of Urakhamil represents an owed obligation, either to you or from you, and it needs to be addressed in either case. Urakhamil requires that the worker truly depend on another for something to fully understand the gravity of such a commitment to someone or something else. Sorry, they get a little deep, so yeah. All right, we've got the coin of Kokabio, Cosmic Bibliothecary, which I didn't know was a word until I channeled it. Ordering and numbering the stars. The coin of Kokabio is for those who look for patterns within the cosmos. The star of God and teacher of astronomy to humanity, Kokabio continues to call down the power of the heavens, despite being cast down from them. Invoke this coin when studying or employing the power of the cosmos and the constellations. Pulling the coin of Kokabio represents events that are determined by the stars and destiny. He requires the worker to put their trust in the stars and rely on their constancy, such as navigating by starlight or adhering to the lunar calendar for magical workings.
I can't pick you up, buddy. I gotta record this for Daddy.
Oh, all right.
Stop pulling on me.
Unless I should keep it out.
It's up to you. Yeah, you can keep it. It's got the sigil on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
We're mixing it here. Okay, so actually, let's pause just for a minute there and take a look at that card, because while it gave some pretty specific instructions on how to use it, it's also very much tied into anything astronomy, constellation, dependent. So if you're going to do anything that any other magical working, you could call upon that spirit as something to add to that working. Also look into the histories of that spirit, and you may find little nuggets of information that lead you to books or other histories that then unlock further information. So sometimes that's the trail you have to follow, is just one little piece here, and then finally you land on something that really puts it over. Feel free to read it if you want, I can.
I will make you read everything.
Okay.
The coin of Yukon, infernal apostate, first follower of Lucifer. The coin of Yukon, first follower of Lucifer, is a contentious one indeed. As the infernal apostate, Yukon has led people from God's path since his fall. Invoke this coin when things must be aggressively challenged or paths must be abandoned. Pulling the coin Yukon represents influence and incitement of others, as well as the pursuit of personal indulgence over other responsibilities. Yukon requires that the worker reaffirm their commitment to the paths they are on through active work, lest they be mired in stagnation.
All right, thank you. Anybody who feels like reading can, and I'll totally read it. Yeah. Oh, she got a good one.
Can you read it?
Coin of Abaddon, the destroyer, the conqueror, the end.
That was a good one.
Abaddon's coin means one thing, destruction. The nature and purpose of that destruction has deeper implications than mere demolition, however. While traditionally Abaddon's energy is seen in extermination and malice, it actually encompasses so much more than those things. On the battlefield, Abaddon is seen not only in bloody carnage, but in the glory and the honor of being truly tested by a worthy adversary and coming out victorious. To look upon the razed ruin of a burning city, devoid of friend or foe alike, is to gaze into the eyes of Abaddon. It is not the absence of what was, but the result of what came. This is the very spirit of conquerors and champions. Abaddon is triumph. Invoke this coin with the warrior spirit. Seek Abaddon not to discover strength of arms, but instead the heart of kings. Pulling the coin of Abaddon represents an opportunity to triumph or conquer, albeit through grim adversity. Abaddon requires that the worker be truly tested in order to find the conquering energy that creates champions and rulers.
Get ready. All right, there you go. She got the one.
Coin of
Semyaza.
leader of legions and infernal
Infernal liaison.
I'm dyslexic, so this is gonna
Oh,
be fun.
I can read it if you want. I can
that's a bit
absolutely.
small.
Yeah. Okay, the coin of Semyaza is of connections and new beginnings. As a leader of thousands of regions, Semyaza is capable of bringing workers together for a united purpose, especially if it results in a brand new creation. Semyaza led the angels of heaven into the arms and the beds of human women, birthing the Nephilim in the process. Invoke this coin when new connections or alliances must be made, or when original works must be birthed into the world. Semyaza is an infernal liaison and will help connect workers with other spirits and people. Pulling the coin of Semyaza represents new creations of flesh and will be made through connections and relationships. Semyaza requires that the worker destroy the walls around them so that others may be reachable. Semyaza's coin fosters life and All right, coin of Achabiel, keeper of infernal secrets, symbols, and structures. This is a great one if you're going to start getting into cosmology, Kabbalah, any of the sacred geometry, any of the greater mysteries that have to do with the structures and the patterns of the universe. This is a great spirit to work with. Achabiel's coin is of symbols and secrets. The hidden systems and mechanics of the universe, such as sacred geometry or Kabbalah, have been Achabiel's boons for humanity. As such, divination and luck are also realms in which Achabiel has influence. Invoke this coin when delving into universal, natural, or other long-standing laws and systems, particularly those involving cryptic symbolism. Achabiel's coin may also be used as a token of luck. Pulling the coin of Achabiel represents your participation in a greater mechanism or system, likely one obscured from direct light. Achabiel requires that the worker actively work to recognize the signs and symbols that lead to understanding of greater machinations.
Coin of Suriel, Dale Prince. Lunar energies surround the coin of Suriel, Dale Prince. The overwhelming and undeniable power of the moon, the calm and indisputable sovereignty of the heir apparent. Suriel is the incontestable tide, the unequivocal prophecy. Invoke this coin whenever lunar work is to be done, or when intuition and divination are to be employed. Pulling the coin of Suriel represents an undeniable power or result, which should be treated as immutable. Plan as if this result is a foregone conclusion. Suriel requires that the worker walk with royalty, rising above the doubts and criticism of lesser deeds.
And hi. There you go. Okay. Oh no, you're fine. Going to war. All right. It's the coin of Gadriel, infernal deathsman and master of armaments. Death and the use of weapons is the realm of the coin of Gadriel, banished from heaven for teaching humanity about death. Gadriel bestowed upon humanity a means to that death through swords and other armaments, which would eventually be turned upon the angels of heaven themselves. Beyond the obvious meaning of weapons, Gadriel excels at employing words, knowledge, and insight as armaments as well. Invoke the coin of Gadriel when preparing for battle, either figurative or literal, or when a connection to death must be made. Pulling the coin of Gadriel represents a final end or a need for weaponry, whatever that may be in your situation. We are pulling some riflings today. There are like 25 really nice, positive, happy riflings in here, and we are pulling the heat here. All right.
Coin of Satan!
Nice. There we go.
Alright. Laud the arrival of the coin of Satan, highest among the Grigori. For it is the coin of realization and manifestation. It is the coin of will and desire being made reality, and the mark of leadership over legions. But as much as it is a symbol of independence and power, it is also a symbol of severity and extremes. Satan will take you as far as you wish to go, including beyond the point of reason or health or sanity. Joy and despair, pleasure and pain, Satan will revel in it all, with you in the midst. Satan is a clear icon of personal power, and as such, this coin should be invoked when raising and directing personal will. Additionally, Satan's coin is very much transformative in nature, like the fire it also represents. Fire is the element of change and transformation, just as Satan's coin represents the change from follower to leader and the transition between states of existence. It embodies the literal act of transitioning from what was into what could be, making it a perfect choice for works of self-deification. Pulling the coin of Satan represents coming into a time of personal realization, indulgence, or both. It can also represent an impending personal challenge, as Satan is a tester without a doubt. Satan requires that the worker have their desires and impulses under control, as Satan will offer no help in this regard. In fact, you will likely find it hard not to act upon true desires and temptations, regardless of how self-destructive they might be. For the process of being destroyed and then remade into something stronger is inherent to Satan, as well as all life upon earth. That is another reason why Satan is truly the master of this world.
She got the longest one in the book. All right. All right. We've got the coin of Turiel, maker of realities and 18th leader of the fallen. Turiel's coin is of indomitable will and limitless manifestation. Turiel is the rock, the immovable object, and this is particularly true in the context of magical manifestation. Sorcery through pure will. It happens because no other result will be accepted. In this way, Turiel is the maker and shaper of realities. Invoke this coin when you must remain adamant in your position and when imposing your desired will upon the universe. Pulling the coin of Turiel represents unwavering spirit and unbending will, and the employment of those traits towards attaining a goal or result. Turiel requires that he withstand a test of resistance and opposition, which he must pass to move forward with infernal favor. We have the coin of Aziel, master of Photons and 10th leader of the fallen. Aziel's is the coin of truest self-deification. Defined by his creation by God, Aziel was forced to remake himself upon his fall. What does it mean to craft yourself in thine own image? Invoke this coin during times of self-analysis, discovery, and improvement. Aziel's presence will encourage the worker to pursue that which is truly desired, secret or otherwise. Pulling the coin of Aziel represents coming into your own power and taking your existence in your own hands. Aziel requires the worker to defy what is expected of them and renounce stifling obligations, connections, and relationships. I'm sorry, can I give you a hug? I'm sorry if that was it.
Yeah.
Alright. We got coin of Kesabel, infernal consort, second follower of Lucifer. Kesabel's coin is of seduction and temptation. As the second to fall after Lucifer, Kesabel introduced the art of seduction to humanity. Invoke Kesabel's coin when you or your works need to be enticing or seductive. Pulling the coin of Kesabel represents increasing your personal approachability and magnetism, going beyond the sexual implications of seduction. Kesabel requires that the worker see through the seduction of other people or things, as one could only do with intimate knowledge of seduction itself. That one's hard to do. That's a great Shizakiel.
Shazakiel. Coin of Shazakiel, elemental aspects
Aspects.
and infernal anchor. Shazakiel's coin is full of Baphometic energy. The natural ebb and flow of the elements and the patterns of weather that form based upon them is a perfect example of this energy, which is why humanity found the secrets of meteorology through Shazakiel. Such similarity in energy to the systems of weather governing the planet gives Shazakiel, the vision to foresee the weather. But much deeper implications arise from it as well. Shazakiel is both constant and ever-changing, a violent, destructive, raging tempest, as well as a warm, nurturing summer day. And as varied as the weather may be, it is always there. An ever-present and constant reality of the world, just as is Shazakiel. That is what makes Shazakiel the infernal anchor, a constant, unmoving pillar of the abyss that may be used as a lifeline embraced when needed. There is comfort and security here, just as much as there is volatility and severity. Invoke the coin of Shazakiel when seeking an anchor or guideline within the tempest of the Inferno, on raising the shifting and capricious Baphometic energy inherent within it. Pulling the coin of Shazakiel represents a need to forecast the potential climate of a given situation and pay attention to how the potential for storms could require a time or place of sanctuary. Shazakiel requires the worker be exposed to weather and the elements.
We got it. Alright, so just one note on that, since you did pull Shazakiel, that is immediately I'm going outside to do my magic. Just immediately. Whatever you're going to do, if that spirit is going to be a part of it, that working needs to be outside. And that's just one thing that you can do to immediately connect yourself with that spirit. Now, also you can leave the window open or be somewhere where the elements can reach you, but that is one way to immediately incorporate a Grigori spirit into even a different, larger working energy. And now we have, all right, we're going to end on a nice note here. Coin of Ananiel, life giver and 14th leader of the fallen. Rejuvenation, renewal, and life are represented by the coin of Ananiel. Beyond the natural physical cycles of life and renewal, Ananiel also influences spiritual, intellectual, and emotional growth. Ananiel brings renewal and growth to all aspects of life. Invoke this coin when feeling defeated or hopeless in any area of life. Pulling the coin of Ananiel represents a need for growth in some area before moving forward, or an impending period of personal renewal. Ananiel requires that the worker devote time and energy to pursuits that rejuvenate the spirit and foster the growth of self. All right, so we got everybody right? All right, perfect. So those were only a few, and like I said, there are several more, and these are all just spirits that you can work with in a solitary practice, as far as you're working with them singly, or you can just use them within other spiritual contexts. So you can pull coins with them like we just did to get an idea of what's going on. You can also, like I said, set up altars, do what traditional left-hand path practice would do. Set up an altar, start filling it with space, start filling it with energy, your energy and theirs, call them into it. Make contact, basically just figure out what the spirit's all about. But you can also use it for divination. You can use them as runes. This was actually devised as a runic cipher. So you'll look at your coin that you got, each one of them is associated with an actual letter. So you can begin to craft that into, like, if you're going to make a sigil off of a name, or you're going to do any kind of thing that would normally be associated with a sigil, you can do with these. Along the same lines, when it comes to, like, let's say, casting runes, you can do the same thing with these. And that would be as simple as, like, a very simple rune pull would be a 3-rune pull. You'd read it right to left, and it would tell you basically like the overview of the situation, the challenges that are going to be a part of it, and then advice or a potential outcome, something like that. You could pull these in a very similar manner and read them straight like that. Another way that I like to use them is what I call a Baphometic pull. So I'm going to put one on the bottom, I'm going to put one on the left, I'm going to put one on the right. The bottom is going to be that foundational, situational overview. The left is going to be the tools I'm going to employ, what is going to be needed. The one on the right is going to be the outcome. And the way to look at that is the left is the dissolve, it is the what is going to be broken down or used to break down the situation, and the right is the coagulum, what is coagulated and brought back together into a new creation. Doing it that way, you can also start doing multiple pulls for the same thing, and that will start to identify patterns, and you can start seeing how that give insight into your life and your spiritual practice. That's right along the same side with tarot. You can spread them just like tarot spreads and read them accordingly. I tried to write each of those coins in a way that you could employ them in each one of those situations. And if anybody is highly into runes or anything like that, they are also, you'll find that a coin is very much similar. Its interpretations are very much similar to the Germanic, like Futhark runes that would also be associated with that English letter. So I try to bring that crossover over so that you could very easily begin to read them that way as well. So those are just some basic ways to start using these spirits, using this information. We'll move into just discussion and questions and answers now. But yeah, I'm Mark McGregor, and thank you so much.